The film opens and a man named Day is playing in a large pool with his dog, Lucky. When the dog fetches a ball, we see a newspaper detailing that an alligator has escaped nearby. Meanwhile, his friend pulls the drain of the pool and informs Day that he needs to come out because it is closing. The man then leaves and tells him to lock up when he's done. However, Day falls asleep on a float and the water continues to drain. Lucky begins to bark and he wakes up to find the water levels have fallen significantly. He becomes panicked and tries to get out but can't as the pool is extremely deep. Day uses a rope to try and pull his phone but it falls into the water and breaks. Minutes later, a pizza delivery man arrives and calls but no one answers. Day sees him but he is underwater and his pocket chain gets stuck to the drain. He screams as he tries to break free but the man leaves and he is freed seconds too late. Now defeated, he lays on his raft and drifts to sleep. Day's girlfriend named Koi then arrives and doesn't realize what has happened. She runs to dive into the pool but Day wakes and yells not to as she jumps. Koi then slips and hits her head before crashing into the water. Day grabs her but she is unconscious and bleeding profusely. All he can do is hold her and yell for help as rain comes pouring down. Night falls and Lucky begins to bark loudly. We then get a look at a massive alligator which crawls up the steps. Day hears the commotion and is shocked when he looks up and sees the beast. The gator approaches Lucky but slips on some pipes and falls into the deep pool below. It swims around the water then sits motionless on the other side of the pool floor. The next morning the pool is completely drained and Koi is still unresponsive. Day discovers that she is carrying a pregnancy test which is positive. He whispers for her not to be afraid but her head wound looks very serious. Day then approaches the alligator as it has a roll of tape in its mouth from outside the pool. It appears to be sleeping so Day grabs the tape and pulls it away right before the gator snaps. With an eye on the gator, he tapes up his girlfriend's head to cover the wound. Some time passes and Day tries to open the large pool drain but is unsuccessful. He plans to use Koi's necklace but turns and sees the gator standing on it. He smacks it in the face with the tape and it eventually moves. Day is able to remove the drain cover but doesn't venture inside because he won't leave Koi alone. While he's turned, the alligator then slithers into the drain itself. Hours pass and Day decides to enter the drain because Koi is burning up and needs medical help. He crawls around and doesn't see the gator, and he reaches an exit but it is locked. Meanwhile, the gator has crawled out of the drain and is now approaching Koi. Day spots what is happening in a mirror and quickly races back to the pool. The gator crawls on top of Koi but Day gets there just in time and grabs it by the tail. He throws it away and threatens it with a small stick. The gator backs off and Koi suddenly regains consciousness. Day explains their situation and the two hug at the thought of having a baby. That night the pizza box is knocked into the pool and the two eat and drink rainwater. Day begins to get dazed and we see he hasn't taken his insulin which is outside the pool. On day 4 the two discover that the alligator is a female and has laid eggs inside the pool. They set up a trap and put a towel over the drain and pretend to sleep. The gator crawls towards Day then falls in the drain and the two lock him down there. They then cook the alligator eggs by starting a fire with Koi's glasses and some scraps. They eat the eggs then try to climb out of the pool by standing on each other. Even when doing this, they are too short and cannot escape. On day 5, they let the alligator out and sneak into the drain. The alligator sees its eggs have been eaten and almost bites Day but he makes it just in time. The two reach the locked exit but Day is exhausted and weak due to not having his insulin. However, the two look around and discover his insulin carrier which was dropped into the drain by accident earlier in the week. He injects himself and the two smile at this small win. The next day the couple sees paragliders flying over the pool. Day yells for them but they don't hear it so he decides to crawl back to the pool. Before he leaves Koi, he locks the room so she is safe. He then opens the lid and screams for help but discovers the paraglider is really just a remote control toy. A few minutes later, the wind blows some barbed wire loose and it falls over the edge of the pool and hangs down. Day grabs it and grimaces in pain as his hands begin to bleed. He gets close to the top and grabs a cloth to continue climbing. However, as he's about to be free the barbed wire snaps and he falls back into the pool and severely injures his leg. He fades in and out of consciousness and ties a makeshift splint to his leg. He blacks out and when he wakes he sees his bloodied hands. Day then looks down to see the alligator attacking his leg and he is dragged on the floor. He kicks it in the face to escape but he cannot walk due to his fall. Day finds a bucket and slams it on the alligator until it finally turns and leaves him alone. That night it rains and Koi bangs the wall to call for Day. Day then distracts the gator and manages to get back into the drain. This time he explores the other side and finds another locked drain. He kicks at it repeatedly and it finally comes loose. Day thinks he is free and climbs out but discovers he is just in the second pool which is equally as deep. He screams out in rage and curses his bad luck. The next day the guys playing with the paraglider accidentally fly it into the pool. They grab a ladder and lower it into the pool. The two do not notice the hidden alligator, and they calmly collect their toy. They see the blood but think it must be old and they leave. Day hears them as they go but he is too weak and unable to call to them in time. However, he sees the ladder and realizes he can escape. As he limps in that direction, the alligator circles in front and blocks him off. At the same time, the area Koi is in has begun to fill with water and the door is stuck locked. She tries to open it, but it is no use, so all hope is on Day now. He faces the alligator and wraps up his hand with some of the barbed wire. The gator charges and begins to bite his leg after he trips. Day kicks the beast in the face and manages to get on its back. He throws punches from behind and we see the water continue to rise in Koi's room and she doesn't have much time left. Day and the gator continue to struggle and Day sees Koi banging on the drain through the mirror. He then grabs some wood and shoves it into the alligator's eye. He limps toward the ladder, but it is pulled up after the barrel holding it begins to slide. Day falls to his knees in defeat and the alligator attacks again and bites him in the chest. He almost gives up but hears Koi whistle and he shoves a stick in between the gator's mouth. He then grabs a pole and acrobatically jumps at the beast and spears him. The gator groans in pain then dies. During the commotion, Day's dog jumped to try and help him but unfortunately died from the chain around his neck. Day looks at him sadly but knows what he must do. He grabs onto Lucky's body and pulls himself up with all his strength. At the top, he cries and hugs the dog and Lucky's body falls into the pool. Day holds onto the chain leash and he finally reaches the outside of the pool. He runs over to Koi's drain but she is not responding. He tries to use a pole to break it, but when he does he is launched over the pool. He hangs onto the edge and pulls himself up as he thinks about his girlfriend. He jumps into the submerged room and finds Koi sunk at the bottom. Day pulls her out of the drain and begins to perform CPR. He does rapid chest compressions and blows into her mouth, but there is no sign of life. When he thinks she is gone for good, Koi finally spits up and begins to breathe again. She coughs, then the two embrace and hold each other for a long time. In the final scene, Koi kisses Day on the forehead and the two are finally free at last.